Okay, is this thing on? As I understand it. Yes. Okay, let me get the link. Could be the hardest part. Okay, yeah, it says it now. So I can just... copy a link. Try to not make a mess. Why? Okay, I'll try to stop clicking my tongue. That's rude. Pull up my show notes here. Okay. No idea if anyone can find it yet. Basically, here's my suggestion. Rewind it to get to the good part. I'm trying to make the beginning of this video kind of follow a decent quick tutorial, although my 3D printer's running, so sorry about that. But here's me. I'm John. I'm a dev. I think mostly, if I'm known for anything, it's for McRogueface, which is my custom game engine, C++ with a embedded Python interpreter, and I use it to do game jams like 7-Day Roguelike. I'll probably write a client for this mud with that as soon as I get around to it. But I'm just gonna be as honestly dumb as I actually am and try to get this thing working, and hopefully in 20 minutes we'll have a working prototype, and then we can kind of duplicate the same simple process to get the ball rolling with whatever mud you want to make in that Reddit-driven community Discord that popped up. So yeah, let's go turn it on. And I will say this right away, that the docs for Evennia are like really good. Like, the documentation itself is a whole project that we don't have to do, which I greatly appreciate. I'm going to pull up those docs. Where's the other browser? No, I just have the one big browser. Okay, let's leave the stream off to the side. We'll come back to that guy. Okay, so here's a whole tutorial. I think this is actually a step too far. Let me like open up a new one and hit installation. I'm just going to use pip because I already have Python installed. If anyone needs help with some other way of getting this running, we'll do that too, but also instructions may be included in the GitHub repo once there's one standard repo to copy. But basically all you have to do is pip install Evennia and you're up and running. So what I'm going to do here is jump ahead a little bit. I'm going to clone a blank repo I just made. Oh, I think yeah. Okay, so it's called test Evennia, please ignore. And what do I have in here is just a README. I'm going to edit that. Okay, that's actually a pretty decent one. Clone this, send a pull request. Practice collaborating and using Git to share work. Okay, that's, I'm going to write that, and I'm just going to look at the log really quick. There's only the initial commit, which I created by creating the repo on GitHub. I'm going to add that file and commit it. And git push. As soon as you do git push, it is on GitHub. So that's the basic process that you'll use for Git, but we'll cover that again at the end. Let's actually start running the examples now. So I'll go to this and say, okay, so I'm in this folder. Wait, that's not the right environment. We need to create a environment, and this is optional, but you'll do it a million times if you program with Python. So I might do something like Python 3 -m-venv and call it venv. Some people use a .venv folder. It's completely personal taste. But either how, I'm going to create that environment. And what this basically does is it creates a folder called whatever you named the virtual environment. And now I'm going to source. I think on Windows you just run the batch file. It's venv bin activate. And now I've got this little dongle in the front of my prompt which says that I'm in this virtual environment. So if I were to actually say which Python, we see that it's actually inside of this folder. It's basically a private set of Python packages here. So now I'm going to follow the instructions from Evennia, which is just pip install Evennia. And like this is sort of like a from scratch approach. Like one thing I'll do, which I'll add to the Git repo in a moment here, is I'll put a requirements.txt file, so you could just install all the packages that the repo knows it needs instead of naming them all one by one. But with that up and running, and like this, I'm literally just following the tutorial so far still. So I'm going to say init test game. So what does this command do? We're just calling on Evennia. We basically just installed it with pip, and we're going to name the game. So this name here would, well, once we do it, it'll give us some feedback. And if we look in the files again, we see that there's now a folder called whatever that thing was. So we can look in there, and what we'll see is it's basically includes a kind of template for a bare bones game, which we're about to poke around in to talk about some of the things that Evennia includes as the basics. So let's go into there, and I'm going to run Evennia. Okay, migrate. So migrate is a pretty common database command. What this kind of implies is that it'll update the Django database with any changes, like any new columns that were added, to migrate from the previous version to the current version of the database. So you may have to do that every time you pull code, but if we discover that, it'll be in the procedures we end up writing. So I'm just going to hit Evennia start, and what it should say to me is we need to create a super user account. Again, this you may end up doing this on your own because we may want people to basically not have the production database around. So you're going to be creating your own user database and running a shared batch to create all the objects. That's probably how it will work. So you'll have to create your own super user. I'm just going to go with admin and password, which it warns me is a terrible idea, but I do what I want. So now that the server is started, I think I can do something like Evennia, is it -L? Yeah, which will give me the logs. So from there, that's it. We are now, months leaped ahead into the project, and we can do something like telnets localhost 4000. And it failed on IPv6, but it worked on IPv4, and it asked me to run a connect command. Admin password, and here I am, and you see in the log that I have arrived, and we can see I'm in a place called limbo. It has this description, and now we're going to start messing around with game objects. Okay, so one thing they recommend is the quell command, which reduces you from super user to a mere developer. Basically because one of the main concepts in Evennia is locks, or little bits of code that check if you're allowed to do a certain action on a certain object. And if you bypass the lock by being the super admin, then you can basically pick up furniture, you can go through closed doors, nothing prevents you from doing anything, so you can't really test behavior. So quell reduces your authority into someone that abides by locks. So I'm literally following the tutorial here. Let's create a box, and if we now look, we can see, oh, I have to look at me. It created the box in my hand, which I am now holding. Okay, so let's name it box equals a large box. Let's be a little more creative here. Cardboard box. Now if we look at me, I can even drop it, and now it's in the room. And what are some other things we have here? So I did run quell, so like get box would put the box into my inventory, and drop box would put from my inventory into the room. Now let's like make it not something you can pick up. So get :false. We're basically assigning this behavior to it. So now if I try to get box, it's going to say I can't do that. So I imagine like this is a plain object that has like no Python code associated with it. But this is still probably good for like lore items, you know, like a something on the wall, like a sign, a poster, a hint for a puzzle, any kind of decorations you want to individually describe, and any kind of stuff you want to like duplicate around, like if there's common statues of gods or goddesses, or some kind of science fiction equipment you want to leave laying around, maybe you just duplicate the same plain object. It doesn't need behavior to give flavor to the environment. So let's flavor it a little bit. I imagine these commands will be like a lot of what's the world building folks are using to interface with the objects in the world. Box equals, so we'll set the description, sealed, heavy, immobile cardboard box. Okay, so I set that description, and I think I can also, is there one more I had laying around? Let me check the tutorial really quick. So I think it was in part 1 maybe. Another thing I wanted to put was the description when you can't get it. I just saw it. Okay, so that one looks like set box/get underscore error underscore message equals okay, so it didn't like that. Maybe the single quote made it give that extra message, but looks like it worked fine. So let me say look. We see a cardboard box, like look box. It has that description on it, and now if I try to get box, it gives that specific message that I indicated. So that's that. And if you want a little bit more insight, we have examine, which includes those messages, might help you find that stuff. Looks like it just says, let's see. I don't see the get lock here, but maybe I'm just not looking closely enough. Let me just double check that no one's like yelling at me for being dumb. Oh, I got a wave, thanks. Okay, that's the basics there. Okay. Another thing I wanted to do was start making another room. Like, if we look around, we're in limbo. So I'm just going to diggy hole. And I'm going to say dig house equals, and then you can kind of be creative here. I think might usually just say like directions like north, door, semicolon, in comma. Let me put like south here. I think it's the other side of the link, what they see. And let me see what that does. Okay, so created room, which has this new object ID. It's a room, and an exit from limbo. It says created exit from limbo. House is the new room. The link says north, and it says door, comma, in, and created exit back from house to limbo, south, out. So now if I look in limbo, I see exits north. So if I travel north, I am in the new room that was created, and it says south. And does it tell me anything else? No. And a house is just another object. You can describe it. You can add other stuff to it. But I'm going to try to pivot here to using the basics of Git. So I'm not going to really do much more in this. Great tutorial. We can all follow. So what else? I can go like back south. I'm back in limbo. Oh, and searching for objects in the database. So if I were to say like search box, it tells me, we found box. It has this ID. It's this type. And if I were to say, let me just leave and search box or search number 3, same object. I think I'm object number 1, which is quite the honor. But yeah, a character is just another type of object. And I believe there was a teleport. Okay, you can teleport yourself with a teleport command. But I can also say like teleport box equals house. Could not find object. How did I do? Maybe I need to watch where the spaces go. No? Let me go number 3. Okay, so that worked. So you can always call things by ID. It's considered more fragile, but I understand it's usually more specific. So if we have a look around, the box is here, but I still can't get it because it's that same exact object, has the same properties as before. Great. So that's basically rooms, links, objects, characters. That's kind of the basics of what Evennia allows out of the box. But something else I want to show, let me make sure it's working here. Yeah. So if you see in the log, something else showed up. And this is like another one of those like extreme fast forward reasons to use a system like this. Let me just say connect admin password, and it'll disconnect me from the telnet client in the background. And here it is, I figured out what room I'm in. It says where I am, and I'm now using basically an instant free web client, which we can dig around in the Evennia code to customize this, but that's basically the basics. And I sincerely believe that like mucking around with network code, it's quite a pain. So to be able to get to this point without having to debug all that stuff is a huge blessing. I love that these kind of projects exist in the community. Started from scratch would feel terrible when this is an option. Okay, so now that that's like all cooking, I wanted to actually add some scripts here. Yeah, so let's add like one line of Python so I can do some Git examples and call it a night. So where's test.py go? Okay, so I think I'll need to go here. I should be able to just like exit out of the log. I don't need to look at the log for the server to still be running, which is nice. So here I am in the test game folder. And for people who are blind like me, let me blow that up just a little bit. Isn't that ridiculous? You'll get old too. It'll happen to you. So let me look at the world folder and see what's in here. I don't see anything. What does readme say? Reading the readmes. That's a pro tip in life. Okay. Every other thing like commands could go in here. So let's do test.py. I'm just going to start a new file, and I'm going to put in it the recommended code from the tutorial, which is basically just a hello world message. So that's a test file. Now, I believe if I did something like Evennia shell, let me see if I did this. I might be able to do it from like the client, right? Let me see here. Okay, so it looks like it did it, and hello world is not defined. Okay, so I need to do py, which runs a Python command. It should only work if you're like an admin, but world.test.hello world. Did I spell that wrong? World.test? That's a little baffling. Okay, so that looks more... maybe it doesn't keep any state. Like, it doesn't keep it imported from line to line in the client. That would make sense. So, import world.test. I find this module. I should be able to do something like world.test.hello world and get an error me is not defined. Makes good sense. Maybe I have to do a reload. Server restart initiated. So now let's try import world.test. Maybe I missed a step because it's not actually getting me any output here. Unquell? Oh. py. It's like it's giving me the three cha-chas like it's executing Python, so. I don't know. I mean, I really should just execute it. I mean, does the actual me.message command work? Yeah. And what they actually recommend in the next line down is like import world.test.hello world for the reason I was just figuring out. Well, at least it's finding it now. And I need to put it as an argument. Oh, the object is always its own argument there. So let me pull up test again. Should be able to just put me there. Provide that as an arg. The first argument is going to be that being, or whichever entity called it. Restart the server and run py. Does it say it in there? Can't see that it. Oh yeah, it's this one again. Maybe I meant. Did I not save that right? Come on. Come on. Oh, it might, yeah, it does not matter renaming it. This is paranoia on my part, but, reload. I have to do some weird thing like py del world.test. Shouldn't do anything, yeah. And I think I got this guy, yeah. Oh, that probably argument has to be turned into a command first. Oh, I could probably pass me, can't I? Is me in scope for that? Okay. Probably need to put pi in front of it every single time. Not the most important thing. Okay, so what I could do there is if there was another entity in the world, if I just look, I theoretically could put here box, or I may have to do something like a, dang it, I did it again, didn't I? Just assume everything's a Python console. There's probably a search command I can get to retrieve an entity, but this is already going the wrong direction. I wanted to talk about get, so. Okay, there's some code. It can sort of be coerced into running. Let's actually put it into GitHub, let people review it, and share it with others. Because really, I think I would much rather help other people get their stuff in and shared before we go nuts with any particular feature demos, although I'm sure those will be helpful to people. So I don't know exactly what the right structure should be to the Git repo. I can tell you this is that we definitely want test.py in it. So I'm going to add, let me first add like, say like pip freeze and look up what version of Evennia we got. So I'm just going to take this guy, requirements .text, I'll put that single package in there, and I'm going to add that. So that's going to be part of my commits. I'm also going to add test game world test.py. And now if I look at git status, I'll see that these two files are staged for commits. What I want to do at this point, because you don't just want to put everything on master. You don't want to commit everything in a giant stack. We want to give other people a chance to review the changes before they get made into part of the final product. So I'm going to now say git checkouts -b and name my branch with some hopefully unique name. They shouldn't stick around too long, but you know, if you want to like put your initials, that's not bad for a branch that you know will be like your unique name on it. So I'm going to say like test code. So I've switched to a new branch, and if I look at git branch, you can see that I've just checked out a new branch. None of the files changed because this branch is like identical to master at the moment you create a new branch. But now that I have these files staged, I'm going to make a commits, and once I type in git commit, I'm going to have a text editor pop up for me to write what the changes were. If you have a code editor, VS Code or something, there's a little window on the left side that you get to type your commit message in. So we've created a branch. We're going to commit the code and say requirements file and example Python file. You want to describe your commit in a way that other people can understand what it contains. So now if I look at the log, I can see that origin, which is how Git refers to the server it's cloned from, in this case GitHub, or master on my local computer and master on GitHub, they're on the same commit, but they're behind my commit, which is new on this additional branch. And head is just saying that that's where my folder is actually configured right now. So if I say git status, it should even tell me that, maybe it'll say it here, I can't remember, you're ahead of master by one commit. So I'm going to now push this, and it'll tell me that there's an error message. You can configure this as an option, or you can just tell it to, you know, I created this branch on this computer. Let's set the upstream and put that branch onto GitHub. Guys, I'm sure you can Google it and in 5 minutes find the right button to press on VS Code to do the same thing, but we're going to make a new branch and push it to GitHub. Okay, so now I'm going to have a look at GitHub, Where was that? It's in my notes. Have this repo. Okay, so here's this repo, and my new branch is here, and I've pushed it to GitHub. So let's compare and make a pull request. So you could, if you wanted to, wait to do this step. Let's say you're working on something that's a little bit complicated. You make a branch, you start making commits, you start stacking up changes to the program, and any number of commits can be included in one pull request. In this case, it's just one. That's okay. But it could be a lot more than just 2 files being changed here, which actually helps keep the project organized if you only merge things that are kind of ready to go for another group to review or something like that. So if you wanted to add more details, like changes this thing, relies on this person, requires these other things to work for it to work, all those details are good to have. But now I'm going to just hit create pull request. Now I had to go to the website because pull requests are kind of a GitHub specific thing. But this is what we'll be looking at when we review different pull requests. Is we will have the commits or something made from the commit messages and whatever description someone types in, and we can have a look at it. I can even add other people to review it. I don't think I can be a reviewer on my own PR, but that's kind of silly. But the idea here is that I could say, like, looks good to me. And now we can also merge it. So when I hit merge, what was it going to say? Merge commit. Sure. That's I don't think it even will. I think it will just fast forward master, meaning it's going to set the branch. The master branch is now going to point at that commit too. So it says we successfully merged it. You know, whatever review process is done. Let's go look at the front of the repo. And now, yeah, we've got this commit from 4 minutes ago is included on the front page of the repo. So that pull request was merged. And that's basically it. You know, you commit your code to a new branch, you open up a pull request, and you get that pull request merged. So if we look at status now, it's going to say that, yeah, it's up to date with the branch I created, and I can now check out master to go back to the main one and pull. And now that the pull request has been accepted, we see this sort of thing where the new commits from that pull request, whether it's one commit or a lot of them, now appear in the log here, and we can see that, what does this say? Yeah, this merge commit is here. So there's the commit I sent to the pull request. Here's the original one that was before that, and an additional commit which says that they were merged. So that's basically the gist of it. I could go on all night, but I do not have time to do that. So I hope this is helpful. If you found something missing, long-winded, or need help with something else, just send me a chat. Otherwise, that's the end of this activity for tonight.